Imagine a man who was fearless in his search for truth, who questioned everyone and everything, and when accused of corrupting the youth and dishonoring the gods, he stood his ground with unwavering conviction, relying solely on the power of his words, despite the looming threat of execution. Socrates, the teacher of Plato and an almost legendary figure in Western philosophy, did exactly that at his trial in ancient Athens. Today we're diving into his famous speech in the Plato's dialogue Apology, and we'll look at how Socrates' ideas resonate across other Platonic dialogues, even hinting at connections to the Christian tradition. His life has themes of moral courage, humility before divine wisdom, and a life spent in search of higher truths. All of these topics are still deeply relevant today. Socrates begins his defense with a simple yet powerful request: judge me not based on the eloquence of my words, but on truth. From the outset, he underscores a theme that resonates throughout Plato's dialogues: a steadfast commitment to truth over rhetorical flair. This stance sharply distinguishes Socrates from the sophists, who were known for teaching the art of persuasion, often at the expense of genuine truth. In various Platonic dialogues, Socrates actively challenges the relativistic views of the sophists, emphasizing the importance of seeking true knowledge and virtue. While the sophists prioritized rhetorical skill and personal gain, Socrates dedicated himself to uncovering deeper truths and engaging in meaningful philosophical inquiry. His method of questioning, known as the Socratic method, was designed to stimulate critical thinking and clarify moral concepts, standing in stark contrast to the sophistic approach. For Socrates, truth is not merely a tool for winning arguments, it is the very essence of the philosophy itself. If you'd like to see a video on the sophists, be sure to write your request in the comments below. This value of truth and honesty also echoes in his strategy. Socrates chooses to tackle the accusations of his older critiques first, those who have painted him as the one who speculates about what is in the heavens and beneath the earth, and makes the worse argument appear the better. Why start here? Socrates explains that these earlier rumors are deeply embedded in the minds of jury and the public. This approach mirrors the essential feature of the Socratic method itself. Begin with the most widely accepted beliefs, examine them, and then peel back layers to get to the deeper truths. In one of my previous videos, I discussed it in relation to Plato's dialogue Republic. To explain why he became a philosopher, Socrates shares an important story about his friend Chaerephon's visit to the oracle in Delphi. Chaerephon received a prophecy from the oracle at Delphi that his friend Socrates was the wisest of all men. This message left Socrates deeply puzzled. He didn't consider himself wise, quite the opposite. So if the gods declared him the wisest, he reasoned, there must be a hidden meaning behind that. So Socrates set out to test this claim. He questioned politicians, poets, and craftsmen, the people widely considered wise in Athenian society. What he found was both astonishing and ironic. These so-called wise men thought they had all the answers, but they were blinded by their own self-assurance. Socrates realized that in a way the oracle was right. He was wiser than others, but only because he knew one essential thing they did not. I know that I know nothing. And this, he believed, was what the gods had meant. His humility before the divine, the recognition of his own ignorance, was a rare wisdom that set him apart. It's this admission of being aware of our own limitations that Socrates offers to the jury. Unlike his accusers, he is painfully honest about what he does not know, and he even warns them, I know well enough that this very conduct is what makes me unpopular. The story of Socrates' life, with its themes of acceptance and humility, seems to parallel the account of Isaiah 6 from the Bible. In this passage, the prophet Isaiah experiences a transformative vision of God's majesty. He sees the Lord seated on a high throne, surrounded by seraphim, who proclaim his holiness. Overwhelmed by his own sinfulness, Isaiah recognizes his unworthiness and is cleansed by a seraph before being commissioned by God to deliver his message. There is a common misconception, often fueled by modern literature and poetry, that a prophet might ask God for the gift of prophecy. However, this view is misleading. Being a prophet is not a gift, but rather a duty or assignment from God. Initially terrified by his calling, Isaiah ultimately humbly accepts his role as a prophet, highlighting the profound responsibility that comes with such a vocation. In a remarkably similar manner, Socrates humbly accepts whatever is assigned to him by the gods, showing no excitement about his own wisdom. This attitude aligns him more closely with the archetype of a prophet when compared to poets like John Milton, who announces himself as a prophet and actively seeks that role. Socrates embodies the idea that true wisdom is not a personal achievement to be celebrated, but a solemn responsibility to be embraced, contrasting with Milton's aspiration for prophetic insight. Here we come across the concept of Daimonion, a spiritual sign or guiding voice that Socrates claims would occasionally stop him from making poor choices. Unlike what we might think when we see the word, this daimonion isn't a demon in the way we understand it today. The word demon actually stems from Greek daimon, meaning spirit or divine power. It didn't have the negative connotations it has today. For Socrates, his daimonion was more like an inner moral compass, a voice of caution he trusted deeply. This voice, he said, was of divine origin, which he trusted to steer himself from wrongdoing. In some sense, it is similar to the Christian idea of conscience or even divine guidance. This influence, this inner sense of divine presence, has led many to see Socrates as a precursor to the Christian tradition. Like Jesus, who later faced persecution and was wrongly accused for his teachings, Socrates too faced false accusations and was ultimately willing to die rather than betray his beliefs. The second line of accusation is from Meletus, one of his formal accusers, who argues that Socrates is corrupting the youth of Athens and introducing new deities not sanctioned by the state. This is where Socrates uses his famous method of elenchus, a rigorous style of questioning that we mentioned earlier, to expose contradictions in Meletus' claims. Socrates calmly but persistently questions Meletus, asking him who exactly improves the youth of Athens if he himself is accused of corrupting them. He leads Meletus into a series of admissions, ultimately showing that Meletus' accusations are poorly thought out. Socrates then brings up his own poverty as a proof that he is not in this for profit. Unlike the sophists who took money for teaching, Socrates lives modestly, a life dedicated to the pursuit of wisdom rather than wealth. Despite his defense, Socrates is sentenced to death. But rather than pleading for mercy, he faces his fate with remarkable composure. He tells the jury that he does not fear death. For him, living an honest and just life is far more important than clinging to life itself. Death, he says, is not necessarily a bad thing. It may simply be a transition to another existence where he can continue his pursuit of truth and engage in dialogues with great figures of the past. In his final words, Socrates says, "Now the other to part has come. I go to die, you go to live. Which of us goes to the better lot is known to no one, except the god." This statement in a way embodies the core of his philosophy, the humility in the face of the unknown, and a life lived according to principles, even in the face of death. Socrates' trial and death mark him as a kind of philosophical martyr, an individual who gave his life for the values he held most sacred. And in this way, some see him as a precursor to the figure of Jesus Christ, a man whose teachings challenged the established order, who encouraged people to examine their lives, and who ultimately accepted a sentence of death rather than betray his mission. Both Socrates and Jesus called upon their followers to seek truth and to lead lives of integrity. Both accepted punishment rather than compromise. While their teachings differ, the themes of moral courage, humility before divine wisdom, and sacrifice for the greater good create a powerful resonance between them. In Apology, Socrates offers us not only a defense of his life, but also a blueprint for anyone seeking to live with integrity and purpose. He challenges us to question, to prioritize truth over comfort, and to adhere to our principles even at great personal cost. In a world where the pressure to conform is strong, Socrates' example serves as a powerful reminder that the pursuit of truth often demands courage and resilience. Ultimately, his legacy inspires us to embrace our own quest for authenticity and moral clarity, urging us to stand firm in our beliefs and to navigate the complexities of life with unwavering conviction. Thank you for joining this journey into Apology. If you'd like to see more content on ancient philosophy and its connections to modern life, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.